you go deeper and find out what this I is all about, at some point you will discover there is no I, there is no self. The self is something we construct. The mind constructs. The mind creates an identity, and based on that, it lives its life. We think what I see as a body is me. I live like this. I have a family. I go to work. I earn these things. I do these things, and you create that identity. When you go deeper, the self doesn't exist. So that is the main teaching of the root of existence. If you understand what this existence is all about, then you found the source of our life. So he is going a little bit deeper to explain to us why this happens. This happens, the ego has a construct, and now with that construct, remember, this is something we made up. So it doesn't have any basis to it. There's no substantial thing which is holding it, no substance to this, right? No substance. With that, it is doing something else. Let's look at what they are. It have a perception which is distorted. It is not clear. What it's doing is holding the foul, the ugly to be beautiful. The mind thinks what is ugly, it thinks it's beautiful. This is a perversion of the mind, right? Because it doesn't know, it thinks this is beautiful. The unpleasurable to be pleasurable. There is no pleasure at all on some things, but it thinks that there is pleasure. I want that. The impermanent to be permanent. This is very important. The mind thinks, I want this to be permanent. I want to live forever. I want to have a life like this forever. Permanent. It wants to be permanent. It thinks the impermanent to be permanent. And then lastly, the selfless to be self. It thinks there is no self, but it wants to have that self. It wants to hold on to that self. Let me explain this with with example for each one of them. This is something, if we can understand this correctly, we can get out of all of this discomfort. So number one, I'm going to give some examples here, right? The ugly to be beautiful. Let's take, for example, our body, right? This is a classical example. When you think of your body, if you think about your body right now, how it looks like, when you look at the mirror, you look at your image, it looks nice. You put on nice clothes, nice makeup, and you want to try to make it look younger. And you want that image to be there forever. But when you look closely, what is going on inside your body? Every minute, every moment, we are go from one day to another. You're getting older. There is aging. The aging happens at the cell level. The scientists proven that. There is a time frame when all the whole set of cells get renewed. The body goes through all of that. It looks beautiful from outside. Think about the processes that are happening to our, let's say, digestive system. As soon as you put that nice food inside your mouth, it goes through a lot of changes, and you don't want to see the outcome of it, right? It looks disgusting to us. We don't want to talk about it. And look at what is happening within our other systems and the waste elimination system, or how the heart looks like. All the things that are going on inside. We think this is beautiful. It doesn't mean that I'm negating the body. It simply means we have to understand the reality of the body. One more thing I want to talk about here. Your body, not only your body, each and every one of our body has the potential to get sick anytime. If the conditions are correct, If the conditions are good, we get sick. This is again proven by science. The potential for each one of us to get either cancer, or it could be like amnesia, or sorry, not amnesia, all the brain disorders, all of those things are there in our body. Dementia, so many other things. The potential is there. All the viruses and bacteria that can cause us discomfort and all kinds of diseases, it is there. The cell which can become cancerous is all inside us. The potential is there. All of us have the potential. When the conditions become ideal, it come out. It works in our body. The virus starts acting. The bacteria starts acting. The cancer happens the same way. Let's say you don't have proper food. You don't have enough sleep. We talk about sleep all the time. It's very, very important. They found out recently when the sleep is not done properly, you will get into all these brain disorders later in your life. Dementia happens because of that. Sleep is important. So all this potential for us to become sick is inside us. And don't be surprised when you get sick. Let's go to a doctor office and somebody saying, you're going to get this disease, you have this disease. We feel surprised. Oh, how could this happen to me? This is a wrong understanding. The potential is there when you are born. It is acceptance. It is dealing with the reality. The best way to avoid death is, this is again Buddha says, sometimes it will feel foolish, right? It says, don't be born, right? It seems very easy to say. If you don't want to die, don't be born. So it appeals to our logic. What it all means is, if you are born, we are all going to die. You're going to get sick. So looking at something beautiful, your own body, and thinks that this is going to stay like this forever, is something so beautiful, I want to enjoy this forever, that's not going to happen, right? Know that it is ugly. The second one, unpleasurable to be pleasurable. I'll give an example. Let's say you go and have a nice meal, maybe with your friends or family, and you want to enjoy that meal. You have certain food and you think that this is going to give you pleasure, right? We have all this imagination. I'm going to meet with my friends after a long time, meeting with my family, have a nice dinner. You're going to a very nice restaurant and you're ordering the best food. You have all the friends around the table, all of you having a nice conversation. And suddenly, again, this is all pleasure you wanted to get, right? You arranged all of this. And when the conversation keeps going, someone had an extra glass of wine, what is going to happen? The conversation may go here and there, and suddenly you are in an environment where nobody wants to talk anymore. It happens to many of our families, right? It just stopped right on the track. Now, you wanted to get some pleasure and you're not getting it, therefore you feel frustrated. So it doesn't mean that you don't need to have a family get together. It simply means if you are trying to get pleasure out of something, it may lead to non-pleasurable things. Therefore, go with that understanding. But most of the time, the ego always wants this to be a pleasurable thing, because I have spent so much of money. I spent so much effort to bring everyone together. I want to get the most pleasure out of it. That is the problem. The third one, impermanent to be permanent. For example, I give another example. The house I live here, right? This house was built some 50 years before. And I do not know how many people lived through this house, right? Now I've been living for a few years. And after I'm gone, I could be living here for another 20, 30, 40 years, who knows? And then it may go to someone else who is going to live here. It could be to my children or to some charity. Someone is going to use this. And it goes on and on. At some point, it may just disappear from this earth. We do not know. And we put in so much of effort to make things, everything permanent. We want to have all these different houses and cars or jewelry and a lot of material things we want to hold and we want to enjoy. Most of the cases, what is happening? You are spending a lot of your time to gather all those things, but you never have a time to enjoy all these things. I was talking to one of my friends. He told me that I have so many holidays, which I have been accumulating for so many years. I do not know what to do with these holidays. I asked why. He said, my wife is busy when I am free. And when I want to take off, she is busy, and vice versa. So we are accumulating all these holidays. We never take a break. And in Silicon Valley, not only here, everywhere, we think not taking a vacation is a badge of honor. We talk highly about it, but it makes you sick. So we are not working just for the sake of working. We are here to live our life. For that, work enables us. So putting in so much of effort to accumulate things and not having the time to enjoy it. Anyway, this is all going to pass on to your children, not to yourself or to a charity. So why not enjoy today? So that is the understanding for being impermanent thing to be permanent. And then lastly, the self. The selfless to be the self. Let us take this example of aging. Again, I'm going back to aging. When aging happens, we again identify ourselves with this self. We think my body is aging and it's going to end at some point. Therefore, I go through this suffering. Many people don't want to get age at all. They don't want to become old. They do all that is possible to hide the aging. Why so? Because they don't want to accept the reality. So this is where the ego comes in to play a big part. It thinks the thing which we created, it thinks, I want to have this beautiful thing, because it doesn't have an understanding of what is beneath that. It thinks something to be permanent, something to be pleasurable, something to be existing forever. So if you think about it, all of these things are something we created totally out of touch with reality, right? That something is born, it has to become old, it has to die. But nobody wants that. We celebrate birthdays, not other days when we pass on. We want to be here permanently, but it is not part of any reality. All Buddha is teaching us is, if you understand, if you can understand the mechanics of the mind, where this is all being created, the source of it, and if you know that that source doesn't have any substance, if you live through the life as if you have this awareness of what is going on, there is no dukkha, there is no discomfort. You accept things as they are, and then you live through it, even without knowing that you are living through it. And if you live like that, there are no surprises in life. When things happen, we already knew, yes, this might happen. I'm not surprised. I'm willing to go. This is what happens to many of our people, right? Suddenly you've been working for a company and you may get retirement, or you may be pushed out of the company. Or a better example, you want to live a longer life, suddenly it is cut short. And you lament because I want to do so many things and now it's all going to end. Instead, think in a different way. Yes, I understand how life works. So let me start to live from now on. Whatever is available with the reality, let me live this life. This existence is in such a way. So I just want to talk about one more thing before we close the class. In this sutra, Buddha talks about 4 different people based on how the ego works. The first one, the first type is an ordinary person. People like us, or maybe people who are not exposed to these kind of things. An ordinary person creates this ego and try to be here permanently in an imaginary world. And for him, that type of person is not going to be friends with a wise person. This is what Buddha says. This guy is not going to have any friends who is going to talk about this wisdom. His friends are talking about maybe football. The friends are talking about movies. Friends are talking about maybe politics. Friends are talking about some gossips. But an ordinary person will never come across talking about the things like these, some wise things, reality. So it's not something rocket science, it's very simple. That's one type of person. The second type is a learner. We could consider ourselves in this part, learner. Who is a learner? A learner is someone who understands the concepts, like what is ego, what is my mind, what are desires. Someone who tries to understand, put in some effort, and then practice discipline. Some practices of meditation and understanding. I don't want to spend too much of time on this. I don't want to spend too much of money on this. I don't want to spend too much of effort on this. This kind of understanding and having a discipline in his life. That's the second type, a learner who is the path of going there, having an understanding. You may have some enlightenment. The third type is arahant. The arahant is someone who understands the whole mechanics of the mind and who achieved liberation from all this. He knows how things work and he is out of that and he is a liberated person. He understands the whole concept of existence, what existence is all about. That's what this book is teaching about. And then there is a higher stage, which is called the Buddha. The Buddha is someone who is awakened. It simply means that this is a title. It's not a name, it's a title. The title says someone who has awakened from the dream of existence. This existence, what we see as existence, is a dream, but we don't realize that. If you know that this is a dream and you are awakened with nobody's helps, with your own realization, that is the highest state called the Buddha. Can anyone become there, go there? Yes, but there is another stage called the Arahant, the previous stage. Even if we are able to get to that state, that's great. Buddha, we can look for it. But there is also some ego trip. Let's say I start with the thinking that I want to dismantle my ego. That itself is a huge ego trip. It strengthens your ego. If I want to fight with my ego, I want to get rid of it, I want to become an arahant, that's not going to help. So these are the 4 types of people Buddha talks about.